Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new edition of our Open Innovation Thursdays. My name is Marisol Menendez, and I am always happy and proud to be hosting these weekly reviews of each of the chapters of the Oxford Handbook of Open Innovation, this very nice book that was released last year in February. And we've been reviewing week by week with each of the authors the different topics of this body of knowledge of open innovation. I'm an open innovation practitioner and enthusiast, and I do that within my own company, which is Bilakatu. And I also am an ecosystem orchestrator, and my most interesting and nice ecosystem is WIT, which is an ecosystem of female leaders. So I live in my day-to-day the realities of open innovation and ecosystems, and this is why it's such a joy to be here today. Today, we are speaking with Reinhold Achatz. I don't know if I pronounced your name correctly.
Very good.
Thank you very much for joining and welcome. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, and I'm really excited to be able to contribute to the discussion here.
Thank you very much. Where are you connecting from?
Yeah, I'm calling in from Munich in Germany. That's the area where I live today. But I was living in different parts of Germany and the world. I used to live in US as well for 3 years, running the automation business of Siemens. So yeah, I'm pretty international in my activities.
International in your own experience, and international is the book as well, because we have people from all over the world connecting, and this is very interesting. We always like to learn also a little bit about the people who are behind the book. So this is a unique opportunity to ask you, can you please introduce yourself, talk about your career, your trajectory, and your specialties?
Yeah, well, thank you very much. So first of all, I have to mention that driving innovation is a key topic of my business life. So basically, I'm used to work 32 years for Siemens, mostly in R&D functions, and nearly 9 years for ThyssenKrupp as a CTO. So my work was always somehow innovation and technology related. And when we come to open innovation, basically, we always have the feeling when in companies like Siemens and ThyssenKrupp, we have a lot of smart people. But we always know there are always more smart people outside in the world. And obviously the idea has to be, and this was always my paradigm, I would like to work with the best people I can work with. And so I tried on one hand, obviously, work with our own teams in the companies, but as well to work with outside people, which I felt could contribute the most. And when we came to open innovation, we basically, in Siemens, we had the idea to start something which we called Technology to Business Center. And we started this as a kind of an incubator in 1999 in Berkeley, California. And the idea was basically to get ideas into the company, which if the company were not generated because we were thinking in our topic. So we were very focused on our topics. And when you basically invite students from a university like Berkeley University to come and bring in new ideas, and we supported them, and really you find new ideas and can generate topics which are new to the company. And by the way, 1999, and as you know, this was even before Professor Henry Chesbrough coined the term open innovation. But later I had the chance to meet Henry in person, and then we did some projects as well together. So I'm very happy that I can contribute as well, or could contribute as well a little to Henry's work.
This is so amazing, because also at the end you have this strong foot in the practitioner world, but also connecting it to building knowledge, which is something we like very much in this podcast, connecting academia and practice and the realities and feedback, the feedback of it all. And going so back to the roots of open innovation is very, very nice.
Right. And by the way, bridging the gap between academics and companies and business, I think that was always a paradigm as well. So as I said, I want to work with the best people we can get for the job, basically. So very often we identified academics and really finding good people and helping us to implement something meaningful.
This is amazing. And well, this is, I think, very well connected on the idea on why you have a chapter within this book, no? By the way, this is chapter 47. This means I want to take time to acknowledge that we've been doing this podcast for 47 weeks at least. We have some special chapters as well, so it's a little bit over a year. And so I'm very, very happy to be here today. And the chapter is How Open Innovation Enabled the Standard for Sovereign Data Exchange. That's the title of your chapter. You are the sole author of it, Reinhold Achatz. And so the first question is, why did you add it or presented this chapter for the book?
I think from my point of view, it is very important to understand that data have value. And obviously today everybody understands that. And but what I wanted to discuss and what I'm discussing in the chapter of the book as well is how can we really help people and support people to really create the value which is expected that it can be created. And I think what is very important for me as well, that we wouldn't have been successful doing it without open innovation. So basically, I wanted to describe and still want to describe how open innovation really helps us to do so. As I said earlier, today everybody understands the data have value. And obviously when you use tools like artificial intelligence or other smart algorithms, you can really create enormous value out of the data. But in a B2C environment, so basically when people are working in the internet, despite of this common understanding, many people give away their data for free. So basically platforms collect the data when offering social sharing opportunities. And obviously they can fill their data lakes with information and make use of those data. While the contributor of the data only get very little value or even sometimes no value for that. So this is something which from my point of view is not recognizing those people that they really share something which creates a lot of value. In companies, it's pretty different. Companies very often or most of the time understand very well that data have a lot of value. And this makes them very cautious and they try to avoid sharing data. So this is something which is, again, not a good idea because they're missing a lot of opportunities by not sharing data. And for this reason, we had the idea nearly 10 years ago now to create something which we call data spaces, which basically allows sovereign sharing of data. That means you can share data without losing the ownership of the data. And this is basically, I think now the birth of International Data Spaces Association and the birth of the idea of data spaces.
Well, this is interesting because if we connect to the definition of open innovation, where we manage knowledge flows across organizational boundaries with pecuniary and non-pecuniary mechanisms, in this case, you are saying, okay, we share data, which is our knowledge flow in this case, without losing the control, and connected to these principal companies are always worried about how do we capture value, no? And how do we keep the value that we are creating? And so how do we see these dynamics work in day-to-day life? Does this has a specific contracts, dynamics, policies?
Yeah, I think the idea is really that data are shared in a secure and trusted environment because I think when we talk about the internet, obviously in the internet, there's a lot of fake information. There's even fake identity. So in a data space, we define an environment where the participants have to introduce themselves to the system, to the data space. That means their identity is known and their identity is checked continuously. So basically, we try to avoid that fake identities are in the data space. So if a company or person shares data in the data space, they can trust that the partner they believe they're talking to is really that partner, which I think is a very important element of trust. The other element of trust that we are creating is basically that they can add a kind of contract, software readable contract to the data, which describes what is allowed to happen to the data when they are shared. And this contract can define the value of the data, can define the purpose for the sharing, but as well can define how long a piece of data is valid. That means this includes a kind of a digital rubber, which I think is very often thought for in the internet, so we can as well delete information when it's no longer valid. So this is the principle of the data space, and it's implemented with a connector. So you connect to the data space with a connector. In the data space, you can find a catalog. So you can find the participants, and you can find the content which the participants are ready to share. There's a dictionary, basically, which allows you to describe and standardize certain semantic elements so that common understanding can be generated. And as I said earlier, there's a trust checker which checks the identity as I said, that there's no fake identity in the data space. So it's a system you can step in and you can share data freely.
Interesting. So at the end, we are translating creating the infrastructure for this dynamic of sharing to work. And one thing that we are learning now through this journey is that open doesn't mean open for everyone or public or free, no?
Exactly.
And so we are creating the dynamics of trust so we can keep generating the right kind of sharing mechanisms here.
Yeah, and you asked me earlier, how are we using open innovation and making this successful? So basically, we started with a small group of partners. And the first idea, by the way, was created by the Fraunhofer Society for Applied Research. And they introduced this idea to academics and these industrial partners. So we started with a small group of 17 partners, which decided to build the first architecture and the first implementation in a small group. So it was in principle open, but still in a very small group. But to scale it up, obviously, you need many more participants. For this reason, we really made a call for participation, and really everybody who was interested and were basically ready to follow the principle of open innovation was allowed and invited to join. And this was now the real open innovation phase, where we really wanted to use the knowledge and the wisdom of the crowd, and basically saying you could input your requirements, you could as well input your ideas, and in the meantime, the development is open source. So you can as well contribute your code to the data space and to the development, so that is from a small start in a semi-open group. Now we are in a totally open innovation environment, even with open source development.
Very, very interesting. It's so interesting that I wish we had a lot more of time to discuss, but we are getting to the end of our conversation. So if I might ask you to give a conclusion, a final takeout, both for practitioners and academics.
Definitely. I think what we need now, basically to ensure interoperability, we basically need to standardize. So I think, this is exactly what is happening. So we are working on the standardization of data space concepts, which in the moment is an international draft standard in ISO 21151, and the data space protocol, which is basically an ISO standard process in the moment. So it's on the way to be standardized. And so basically what I would do is I would like to invite everybody on one hand to contribute to the further development of the data spaces. So it could be academics and practitioners, but as well, I think I invite everybody to support our standardization process, because for interoperability, global interoperability, standardization is a precondition. And to make that happen, obviously, we need the contribution from all who really want to support our idea, and all which like open innovation, but as well are very interested to create value with data.
This is amazing and a very interesting case with lots of power, and we will be following on that. All the information is available in the chapter, but we will comment on it as well. And well, this is marvelous. This is part of the sections on open innovation in practice. And this is a very practical way to look at it in the modern world, no, with technology and data. Reinhold, it has been really a pleasure to talk to you today and to get a window into your experience, your trajectory, and your ideas. Thank you very much for sharing.
Yeah, thank you, Marisol, for having me. And yeah, I'm looking forward to future cooperation with you and everybody else who wants to contribute.
Thank you very much. And for everyone, see you next week for chapter 48. Thank you.
Thank you.